Hello, everybody. All right, so welcome to the Mikestand. Today is, of course, Tuesday, December the 10th, 2024. So, of course, a friendly reminder if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So we're going to wait a few minutes to give people a chance to come in. Um, Go Speed Racer, Go Speed Racer, Go Speed Racer. Hey, Rick, you're here. All right. Well, we got one person here then, so at least, and as I said, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with all that being said, after I do this real quick, I'll I'll get going now that there is at least one other person here. I'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. Oh, with that being said, so tonight we got a couple articles we're going to go over. From one from Bounding into Comics, the other from Bleeding Fool. The first article we're going to look at is some more localization issues from as Viz Media English localizer rewrites dialogue in Sidcraft. Love is a mystery to insert modern slang. Also, we'll head over to Bleeding Fool as well afterwards, where the article talking about, I guess, they're releasing a new classic collection of Thundercats cartoons, or not cartoons, but comics. So we'll take a look at that. And as I said before, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking, sharing the stream, see if we get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. Let me just do one more little thing here to kind of try to stir things up a little bit here before I before we get going here. Let's see. Anybody else that we might? I guess not. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead. I guess I'll go ahead and get started then. So let me go ahead and bring this up. So the first article we're going to be looking at, of course, is the one involving Miz and the localization issues. All right. So let's see what's going on here. Viz Media English localizer rewrites dialogue in Sidcraft, Love is a Mystery, to insert modern slang, article by Nerdigans Inc., and it was published yesterday. All right, so let's see what's going on here. So in the latest case, let's see, and it was the Nerdigans Inc. was the one who was reporting on it. So in the latest case of Westerners trying to, quote unquote, in smaller quotes, improve the work of a Japanese creator, English language localizers at Viz Media have awkwardly ham-fisted, oh boy, an instance of modern-day slang into Sidcraft final reasoning. So I don't know if this is, I think this is when they're talking about the localization of the mangas here. So. Let's see. Created by We Never Learn mangaka Taishi Susui, Sidcraft Final Reasoning is a rom-com mystery manga that revolves around the exploits of the titular Sid Craft. I don't think that's meant to be confused with Laura Craft, as it were. A great detective and hopeless romantic who often ignores the mysteries around him in favor of attempting to find love in the style of Sophia's Unforgettable Love, a popular romance novel that he considers to be his personal romance Bible. Oh boy. All right. Let's see. Assisting Sid in his detective work is one Elio Olaine, who came under the love-obsessed sleuth's employ after answering an ad for a specifically male assistant, as Sid himself has trouble talking to women. However, due to the naive great detective focusing on maintaining their hard, tough image, Sid has yet to realize that his eager assistant is actually the female author of Sophia's Unforgivable Love herself, Levy Olaine, in disguise. Okay, that's an interesting plot twist. Having volunteered for the position after becoming enamored with the detective following his clearing of her name from false criminal charges, Elio attempts to temper her feelings for Sid by writing them down anytime they pop up, in parentheses, and later assembling these love notes into full-blown novels and publishing them for the world to read. Okay. Wow, talk about bringing the drama home, as it were, and putting it out there for the public to see. Oh boy, there's some interesting plot twists in all this already. Oh boy. Oh boy. So basically, he's trying he's trying to find love. The detective's trying to find love, and he utilizes this particular author's book as his quote unquote Bible, right? His romance Bible, as they call it. All right. Only for his new assistant, even though he doesn't know this yet, turns out to be the very author of the book, who happens to have fallen in love with him because he saved her. Man, what an incredible web there. What an incredible web. Anyways, getting back to the article here. And it is in relation to Elio's true identity that Viz's localizers have struck again. In the series' second chapter, smaller quote, The Great Detective and Secret Reverence, smaller quote, after being knocked out and struck unconscious by an unknown member of a serial arsonist group that Sid is currently pursuing, Elio has an unconscious flashback to her first meeting with the detective. Following a recap of Sid's aforementioned clearing of her name, Elio's memory turns to her discovery of his help wanted ad. So they're basically doing, it sounds like in the second chapter is when they're doing kind of the background origin of the whole thing. Her declaration of love for the detective and her decision to work alongside him despite her female gender, as he had asked for a male assistant, because as he said, he has trouble talking to women. Per the flashback, upon realizing that Sid is only looking to a quote a physically fit mate unquote to help him, Elio dons her now signature hat and takes it upon herself to do what she can to secure the job as his assistant, even if it means hiding her true gender. In Viz's English language take on the chapter as translated by David Evelyn, Elio steels herself to take on a gender-swapped alter ego, declaring, quote, "If I'm going to learn beside my revered great detective, Mr. Sid Kraft, gender is something I shall not need. I mean, screw that gender noise. Oh boy. That is definitely something that the Japanese didn't want to emphasize, probably in the story there. But in the original text, unsurprisingly, Elio's declaration does not feature the last bit of, in smaller quotes, modern Western slang. On smaller quotes. So, rather, as translated by request, courtesy of Twitter user at Wakaruman, Tsutsui intended for the young assistant to utter the more grounded proclamation, quote, "If I could study alongside my beloved detective, Sid Kraft, my gender is such is not isn't necessary. At current, neither Shueisha, Viz Media, Manga Plus, or Taishi Tsutsui have yet to comment on this localization. Well, we don't know if, as is always the case, we're not always sure if, it seems to take them a little while to basically become informed that somebody's messing around with their work. So we don't know if it's kind of hard to say if Tsutsui or Shueisha is even aware yet that they did this, that the guy did this. So, because a lot of times, particularly with the creators of the manga, because they don't usually know about this stuff until until months after the fact, because they don't usually start hearing about it until people start reading it and they start saying, did you write this? Is this what you originally meant to say? So a lot of times I don't know if it's gotten any better in terms of like if the mangakas have been starting to pay more attention because of the high number of complaints about that stuff that's been happening in the last couple of years. But anyway, meanwhile, for fans who may have discovered this series by way of this article, new chapters of Sid Kraft's Final Reasoning release every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific on Shueisha's Manga Plus app in Japanese and Viz's Shonen Jump app in English. So, there we go with that one. Actually, I thought that was going to be a little longer than it was, but still a pretty interesting article, to say the least. All right, so as I said, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream so we get some more friendly people in here to engage. Also, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that being said, now I'm going to, of course, move on to the next piece of niche. Let's see. Actually, let's not. I'm going to move on to the next piece of niche news. I'm going to cover here. This one right here, which actually happened this past Saturday, which came up this past Saturday. So, let's see now. Thundercats Classic Comics remasters and collected for the first time. Article by Todd Fisher, published back on December 7th. All right, so let's get down to this then. Dynamite Entertainment and Warner Brothers Discovery Global Consumer Products announced the live launch of an exciting backer kit crowdfunding campaign offering Thundercats fans the chance to reserve the first ever comprehensive collections of the original tie-in comic book series from the 1980s. The campaign is live now. The beloved Thundercats franchise will be celebrating 4 fun-filled decades in 2025, and one of its most popular and vibrant eras in years. Dynamite's new lineup of comic books, tales from top creators like Declan Shalvey, Ed Brisson, Sue Lee, Drew Moss, George Kambadis, and more, continues to claw its way up the charts each month. The flagship series debut made a huge impact on fans, followed by direct spin-offs and upcoming sister series, Silverhawks. Yes, I remember watching both Thundercats and Silverhawks. When I was growing up, they were pretty cool cartoons. You had Bob McFadden, Earl Hammond, Peter Kinney. Let me see who else. Lynn Lipton, of course. Maggie Jacobson. Now Maggie Wheeler, of course. Doing a lot of the voices for the show. So let's see. So Thundercats comics didn't start in 2024, though. They go all the way back to the era of the original animated TV show. Originally published through a different company, the earliest 4-color fables for the franchise amounted to 24 issues. These are now all being scanned and remastered, then compiled into new graphic novel editions to bring them back into print, easy to read, and accessible on everyone's shelves. The original back issues from the series can be expensive and hard to find in the aftermarket, and now readers of all generations can enjoy these old school classics through this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So here, I guess here's the cover for the right here. There's a Sword of Omens. You got from left to right, you got Panthro, Chitara, Lion-O, Tigra, jogging in the back. And then up front there, of course, you got Wily Kid and Cat and Snarf. A wide range of top-tier and cult classic creators of the Bronze Age of comics, Bronze Age in quotes there, of comic books, are featured within the pages of the books being offered now on Backer Kit. Contributing writers include David Michelin, Jerry Conway, Tom DeFalco, Dwight John Zimmerman, and original show writer Stephen Perry. They're joined by a legion of great artists like Jim Mooney, Jose Delbo, Ernie Colon, Dwayne Turner, Al Williamson, Brett Breeding, and others. Oh, Larry Kinney. I think I said Peter Kinney, but Larry Kinney. I just saw the. This classic material is being made available directly to fans through Backer Kit in 2 key editions. Either are perfect cornerstones of any Thundercats collection, and ideal additions to every comic reader's shelf. But the crown jewel is a single volume, complete oversized hardcover. Alternatively, readers can pick up the same contents across two paperbacks. Options are also available for digital readers. Signed editions are also options for everyone's halls, featuring Lion-O voice actor Larry Kinney. Of course, Larry Kinney, who did the voice of Lion-O, he also did the voice of Bluegrass in Silverhawks. There's Slive taking on Lion-O right there. Got Chitara and might be Jackalman right there. A range of extras and add-ons can be opted for, like a lovingly recreated facsimile edition of the first issue from the series, collections of the current hit Thundercats titles from Dynamite, rare variant covers, and more. So there we go. There's something to look forward to, everybody. All right, so that's all for that article. Let's see. We're coming up on 22 minutes. I'm going to see if I can find another. Let's see if I can find another article here. But again, if anything you guys want to talk about, feel free to ask about anything in the world of niche. We can also have a conversation on that. Let me just go through and check some other places. So let me just see what's out there for news, maybe newsworthy. Try opening. Let's see. Of course, yesterday we went over an interview that Bounding into Comics did with Athena Finger, granddaughter of Bill Finger, trying to get him a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. There's nothing there. Let's see if anybody's commented on anything. Nope. All right, so let's see. Go over to Me TV Tunes, see if there's any stories there. Oh wow, this looks like an interesting story. And I had read a little bit about some of this too. So let me see. So for those of you who may not know, Mae Quetzal was the primary voice of Olive Oyl throughout the majority of Olive Oyl's. Now, starting out, of course, she was, the voice, she was one of the voices for both Betty Boop and Olive Oyl. She was probably the longest running in both cases. But here we go. So Mae Quetzal's grandparents almost cut her out of the will. Find out why the voice of Betty Boop and Olive Oyl almost quit acting. Now, of course, she was the longest. She wasn't the only one who played those voices, of course. in the very early days when the characters were both first introduced. Well, when Betty Boop was first introduced, it was like Margie Hines was doing her for a while, and Bonnie Poe as well. And the two of them also had stints, I believe, as Olive Oyl too, before they finally set, in the mid, I think it was something like maybe 35, 36 when they settled on Mae Quetzal. And then then in 1938, when Fleischer moved their studios to Florida, Mae Quetzal had temporarily retired from voice acting because she wanted to basically focus on raising a family, and then came back, when they came back to New York, I think in like 42, 43. So that's when Margie Hines had taken over the role of Olive Oyl there. And by that time, of course, Betty Boop had already finished the Betty Boop stuff. But anyways, take a look at this story. This sounds very interesting because I'd heard over the years that I guess Mae Quetzal's family was not too keen on the idea of her doing voice work. I think she was, from an Orthodox Jewish family, and so they were not. They did not think like voice acting was a very good career. Not very profitable. So, article published yesterday at 11:13. So let's find out why she almost quit acting. So you may know her as Aunt Bethany from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. In parentheses, Grace, she passed away 30 years ago. I guess that was a line from. But Mae Quetzal left her mark on animation history as the voice of two iconic cartoon characters, Betty Boop and Olive Oyl. Mae Quetzal had a nearly 60-year acting career, but she almost walked away from it all as a teenager. Mae Quetzal was born in 1908 to an Orthodox Jewish family in the Bronx. The quote-unquote ham of the family, Quetzal naturally gravitated toward music and theater. Quickly discovering a talent for impressions, Quetzal became a feature at local talent shows and community events. Her impression repertoire included Mae West, Marlene Dietrich, and Helen Kane. Now, Helen Kane, I actually read this earlier. Helen Kane was actually, I believe, the actress that they modeled Betty Boop after. So, there's a little bit of interesting tidbit for you there. Let's see now. Let's see. All right, so among others, after graduating high school in 1925, which of course would have put about 16, 17, Quetzal enrolled in acting classes at the American Theater Wing and Theater Guild, hoping to hone her talents and find work as an actress. Quetzal's acting journey came to a screeching halt when her parents and grandparents found out she was taking acting classes. A very traditional family, they did not consider acting a respectable profession for a young lady. They told her to stop taking acting classes. Her family even drew up their wills to convince her to leave acting altogether. Faced with either following her dreams, in parentheses, and being cut out of the will, or obeying her family, Quetzal chose her family and withdrew from acting school. According to some biographies, she planned on pursuing teaching instead. But all was not lost. Quetzal's friends were undeterred by her strict family, and without her knowledge, entered her into one last talent show a Helen Kane impersonation competition at the RKO Fordham Theater in one last act of rebellion. Quetzal agreed to the talent show and won. And she didn't just win a talent show. This particular talent show was attended by an agent who signed her and got her booked on the vaudeville circuit as a mimic. Which probably I don't think made her parents too happy. But I mean, the thing is, if you get signed and you're making money on it, then there's not much they can really say. Because they can cut her out of the will, okay, but she's at least now secured in a situation where, hey, she's got money coming in. So if they want to cut her off, but anyways, all right. Her show on the road was so successful that she was given a radio show, which was heard by Max Fleischer of Fleischer Studio. Fleischer was looking for a voice actor for his cartoon character Betty Boop. Allegedly, Fleischer was inspired by Helen Kane for Betty's look and sound. The similarities were such that Helen Kane actually sued him later on, but Quetzal was a perfect fit because she could sound exactly like Helen Kane. While she wasn't the first voice actor to play Betty Boop, she was the fourth. Because I know of two of them I mentioned, Bonnie Poe and Margie Hines, and then there probably was one other one as well. But Quetzal was the longest running. What made Quetzal the most successful Betty was the skill she had learned on the vaudeville circuit. Improv, mimicry, and adding plenty of gusto and spirit to the lines she was given. In over 80 productions, she starred as Betty Boop from 1931 until Who Framed Roger Rabbit in 1989. Then, in 1933, she started voicing Olive Oyl in Popeye, the Sailor Man, in both theatrical releases and in 192 episodes. The show released in 1960. Until basically she voiced Olive Oyl. From with the exception of that time I mentioned earlier about when Fleischer Studios had moved down to Miami, and she didn't go with them for like that 4 or 5 years there from 38 to 42. She had pretty much voiced Olive Oyl all the way up until, through most of the, obviously the Fleischer produced cartoons as well as the famous studio produced cartoons in the 40s and 50s, and then when they made when the King Feature Syndicate decided to make the Popeye cartoon show in 1960, she voiced her there. The thing was, though, she actually when they had the problem. Here's the thing that kind of happened in 1978 when they decided to do the all new Popeye hour. They actually made her re-audition for the role of Olive Oyl. And the late Marilyn Schaefer had actually beaten her out for that role on that show. So that was kind of a, for some fans that might have been considered somewhat of a bummer. But I think Marilyn Schaefer had taken over the role of Olive Oyl for the all new Popeye hour, as well as Popeye and Son in, I think it was like 1988, like a year before she died. But anyways, all in all, Quetzal's career included over 400 productions of radio shows, films, um, television shows, and commercials. A very successful career considering family's earlier intervention. Now, mind you, Mae Quetzal did live a very long life. She passed away in 1998 at the age of 89. So but from 1942 through the 1960s, Mae Quetzal, Jack Mercer, and Jackson Beck had been the voices of Olive Oyl, Popeye, and Bluto for all intent and purposes. So, yeah, let me see what time it is here. It's like 36 minutes. All right, so I think I will move on now to the wrestling wrap up, as we do have some WWE news to go over, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about what to look forward to tomorrow night on Dynamite. So first off, we'll go back to last night's Monday Night Raw, as of course this is the go home Raw before this Saturday's Saturday night's main event. So WWE will be having, of course, the Saturday night's main event coming up, and there is some transition going on right now, as in January, Raw will be moving to Netflix, as WWE has a contract starting in January with Netflix to where they'll be airing Raw. They're also already moving a lot of the older content over to Netflix as well, from like WWE Network, among other things. So on last night's Monday Night Raw, the team of The Miz and the Final Testament of Akam, Razor, and Karrion Kross defeated the Wyatt Six members of Joe Gacy, Dexter Lumis, Eric Rowan, and Uncle Howdy. In a non-title match, WWE World Women's Title World Women's Champion Liv Morgan defeated Dakota Kai. In the latest first round match of the latest first round triple threat match in the tournament to crown the first ever WWE Women's Intercontinental title, Rhea Valkyrie defeated Ivy Nile and Zelina Vega. The main event saw in an anything goes match, Rhea Ripley defeat Raquel Rodriguez. So that all happened on last night's Monday Night Raw. Now we'll look ahead to, hey Rex, glad you showed up. You came in a little earlier. I had a few good stories going on earlier that I was reporting on. One being they're collecting the classic Thundercats comics into some graphic novels. Also, I just went over a little story about the late great Mae Quetzal, the voice of course, a longtime voice of Betty Boop and Olive Oyl. So at least you can go back and watch it some point. But anyways, getting back to the wrestling wrap up here, as it were, as we now move ahead to find out what's going on tonight's NXT, coming off of their breakdown deadline pay-per-view this past Saturday. So on tonight's NXT, coming from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, already signed for the match, Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley will be taking on the duo of Fatal Influence of JC Jane and Jasmine Nix with current women's North American champion Fallon Henley in their corner. Then Wes Lee will be taking on Siobhan Evans. So this is all leading to, of course, this Saturday night's main event, with Jesse Ventura coming back to do commentary for that this Saturday, and as they'll be in Uniondale, New York. Let's see, on this Saturday's so signed for that card, of course, Sami Zayn will be taking on Drew McIntyre, as McIntyre confronted Zayn last night. There has been some talk too, as we were talking about the transitional stuff going on earlier in regards to like the Netflix and all that. The OG bloodline currently on SmackDown, which of course Roman Reigns, the Uso brothers, and Sami Zayn, they might be moving to Raw in order to because Netflix wants some bigger names for the show. The finals of the Women's United States title tournament will be taking place at this Saturday night's main event. They've been having that tournament on SmackDown. Liv Morgan will be defending the women's world title against Io Sky. Gunther now due to Damian Priest's interference last night when Gunther was being confronted by the Judgment Day. Now the World Heavyweight title match has been made into a triple threat, which Gunther will be defending against Finn Balor of Judgment Day and Damian Priest. And then Cody Rhodes will be defending the WWE and WWE Universal titles this Saturday against Kevin Owens. Now, moving on to AEW news as they prepare. And apparently right now, Ray Fenix is still considered stuck in AEW. As we talked a bit about that situation yesterday, in which time is being added to his contract because of his injuries. Because I guess Tony Khan's afraid that he and his brother, who's already his contract, Penta El Zero Miedo has already, his contract already came up, so he's already gone from AEW, but they're still holding on to Ray Fenix for now, but they're kind of putting the freeze on him, it would seem. So that is also coming off of Ray Fenix basically calling his treatment by AEW inhumane. So, but anyways, looking forward to tomorrow night's Dynamite. This is what you can look forward to on there, coming from the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. In the finals to see who will face MJF at World's End for the Dynamite Diamond ring. Kyle Riley will be taking on Adam Cole. In a Gold League matchup in the Continental Classic, Claudio Castagnoli, who up to this point has 6 points, will be taking on Will Ospreay, who has 3. In another Gold League match, in a battle of 2 guys with 3 points, Ricochet will be taking on Brody King. And then in a tag match, the Death Riders of AEW World Champion Jon Moxley and 1/3 of the AEW World Trios Champion Pac will be taking on Orange Cassidy and Switchblade Jay White. And then in a match for the AEW Women's World Title, Mariah May will be defending the title against Mina Shirakawa. So that's all we got for the wrestling wrap up. So now what we're going to do, of course, we're going to move on to, with today being Tuesday, December the 10th, 2024. We're gonna go ahead, take a look back at this date in Nietzsche history. So first off, I'm gonna head back to 1964. As on this date back in 1964, I pull that up. This date back in 1964, which was 60 years ago today. Japanese American animator and comic artist Bob Kuwahara, known for his work with Disney and MGM and Terrytoons, passed away at the age of 63. So let's take a quick peek at what some of the stuff he was known for. So in 1932, Kuwahara began working as an animator and writer for Walt Disney, where he had a hand in shorts like Through the Mirror and Academy Award nominated Who Killed Cock Robin, as well as the feature-length film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. In 1937, Kuwahara went to work for for Metro Goldwyn Mayer MGM cartoon studio, but later spent 3 years in the Heart Mountain internment camp during World War II, following the signing of Executive Order 9066. In 1945, Kuwahara and his family moved to Larchmont, New York, where he wrote and drew a comic strip called Miki for 5 years. In 1950, turned to animation, signing on with Paul Terry's Terrytoons. Stayed in the studio following CBS purchase of the studio in 1955. 1959, he wrote and directed the first 14 Hashimoto-san theatrical shorts. So, pretty much that's what a lot of his. So, on this date, 60 years ago today, Bob Kuwahara passed away at the age of 63. Now, moving ahead to 1984, on this, move ahead to 1984 here. I'd actually like to wish a happy 40th birthday to Jason Paul, known better to wrestling fan JTG, one half of Crime Time, the two-time OVW Southern Tag Team Champions, well, former WWE star. So happy 40th birthday to JTG. He's somewhere in the Independence now, as far as I know. Moving along now to the next piece of Nietzsche history here. On this date in 2009, the final episode of Queensblade, Inheritor of the Throne from Arms, premiered on this. So the final episode aired of Arms Queensblade, Inheritor of the Throne on this date back in 15 years ago today. So 15 years ago today, final episode of Arms Queensblade, Inheritor of the Throne aired on Japanese television on this date back in 2009. And finally, on this date in 2014, the fifth and final issue of Howtoons Reignition from Image went on sale on this date back in 2014. So 10 years ago today, the fifth and final issue of Howtoons Reignition from Image went on sale on this date back in 2014. Sold for $2.99, with 32 pages. So with that, thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll be back here with more niche news tomorrow. Also, this Sunday, I'll be joined by Metal from the Metal from the Vomitorium, as we'll be continuing our trip down Comics History Lane, looking back to April of 1940, going through the worlds of David McKay publications, which was the first comic book company to focus in on a lot of the King Features syndicate characters like Popeye, Flash Gordon, the Phantom, Mandrake the Magician. I actually just found out too that apparently they were also doing the Lone Ranger comics back then too. So I guess Lone Ranger was actually part of King Features as well. But we'll be looking at that, and then we'll also, of course, be looking at Famous Funnies number 70 from Eastern Color as well. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.